1962. The Jetsons hits American television, and an entire generation of kids watches George Jetson fold his car into a briefcase, fly to work, and land on a rooftop pad. And every single one of those kids, your generation, maybe your dad's generation, turns to their parents and asks the same question. When do we get that? The answer, for 60 years, was always the same. Soon. Any day now. The future is almost here. 60 years of auto shows with concept cars that never shipped. 60 years of popular mechanics covers screaming about the flying car of tomorrow. 60 years of promises from companies that took investment money, built a prototype, flew it twice for a camera crew, and quietly went bankrupt. And then, this year, a car company in China looked at 60 years of broken promises, walked into a factory they already built, and started making them. Not a concept, not a render, not a "we're targeting delivery by 2030. A factory running in Guangzhou, China, right now, pumping out one unit every 30 minutes at peak capacity. The company is Xpeng. The vehicle is called the Land Aircraft Carrier. 7,000 people have already put their money down, and the first deliveries hit in the second half of 2026. I'm going to show you exactly what this thing is, how it works, what it actually costs, and why, while China is building a factory, America is still waiting for Elon Musk to finish his tweet. Stay with me. Let me talk to you straight, because you've been burned before. You've seen the flying car hype. You remember Mahler. You remember Terrafugia. You remember Aeromobile. You remember every company that showed up at an air show with something half car, half plane that flew like a brick, drove like a spaceship, and needed a runway the length of a football field, and then disappeared. You've watched this movie so many times you stopped buying the ticket, so I'm not asking you to get excited yet. I'm asking you to look at the numbers with me, real ones, and tell me honestly if this is different, because I think it is. And by the end of this, I think you will too. Here's what the Land Aircraft Carrier actually is, mechanically, because I want you to understand it in your hands before we go anywhere else. It is a 6-wheeled van. That is the ground vehicle. Long, low, 6 wheels, range extender powertrain, 621 miles of ground range. It parks in a normal parking space. You drive it with a regular driver's license. From the outside, it looks like an oversized people mover, the kind you see at airports. Unusual, but not insane. And inside the back, folded, docked, locked, is a 2-seat flying drone, a 6-rotor eVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing. You pull over, you press a button. The back of the van opens. The drone deploys. You climb in, take the single control lever, one lever, that's it, and you go up. Autonomous navigation, smart route planning, one-touch takeoff, one-touch landing, 5 to 6 flights per charge, 20 kilometers of flight range per trip, 15 to 20 minutes in the air. The company has logged over 5,000 kilometers of verified flight mileage in testing. This is not a machine that flew once for a press release and got put in a museum. 5,000 kilometers of actual testing in the air, in real conditions. The price is $300,000, which I know sounds like a lot until you remember that a new full-size American luxury pickup is now $80,000, and a decent boat is $120,000. This is a van that turns into a helicopter. $300,000 for the thing your generation was told was coming by 1985 is not an outrageous number. Now let's talk about the factory, because this is the part that separates Xpeng from every failed flying car promise that came before it. The facility in Guangzhou is 120,000 square meters. That is purpose-built from scratch for one product. This product has a rated capacity of 10,000 aircraft per year, one unit every 30 minutes at peak. Pre-production units are already rolling off the line. This is not a garage operation. This is not a startup with a PowerPoint. This is an automotive-scale factory dedicated to building a flying car operating right now, with thousands of customers already waiting for their units. And here is the number that should hit you hardest. 7,000 orders. 7,000 people, real people, with real deposits, who have already decided they want this vehicle. More orders than the Jetson 1, which was the previous benchmark for flying car demand, 7,000, before a single production unit has been delivered to a customer. Here is where we pause, because I respect you too much to hide the real questions. There are legitimate concerns about this vehicle. I'm going to name them honestly. The flight range is 20 kilometers per trip. That is not cross-country travel. That is not replacing the airplane. For most practical purposes, that means one direction. Maybe across town, maybe over a bridge, maybe the 15-minute commute that normally takes an hour in traffic. The flying portion of this vehicle is a convenience tool, not a transport revolution. Anyone selling you this replaces commercial aviation is lying to you. The regulations are unresolved outside of China. In the United States, the FAA has no framework yet for a vehicle that drives on roads and takes off from parking lots. Getting this thing flying over American suburbs is a regulatory problem that does not have a solution date. China has already begun building infrastructure. Shenzhen alone is putting in over 1,200 takeoff and landing points under the government's low-altitude economy push. America has not started that conversation. Xpeng is initially targeting Chinese flying camps, around 200 designated zones for the aerial portion of the experience. So the first buyers are not commuting to work in the drone. They're driving to a designated area, launching for 20 minutes, and landing. That is closer to a premium recreational experience than a daily transport solution. I'm telling you all of that up front because the honest version of this story is still incredible, and it doesn't need me to oversell it. Now let's talk about America's answer to this, because you've been sitting there wondering. I'll give it to you straight. Joby Aviation is the most serious American player in the air taxi space, backed by Toyota, working with the Air Force, targeting 2025 and now 2026 for commercial operations. Real company, real engineering. But Joby is an air taxi. You book a seat, you go to a vertiport, you fly point to point. You don't own it. You don't drive it on the road. It is not a car with a drone inside. Archer Aviation, similar story. Air taxi, not a personal vehicle, not a car. Lilium, the German company, the one with the beautiful jet-powered eVTOL that everybody was excited about, went bankrupt in 2024, relaunched under new ownership. Still no production vehicle. And Elon Musk. In early 2026, Musk said Tesla had a crazy tech flying car coming, teased it as an announcement in a couple of months. As of this video, Xpeng has a factory running, 7,000 orders on the books, and deliveries starting in the second half of this year. Musk has a tweet. I don't say that to be cruel. Musk builds real things. Tesla changed the car industry. But on this specific product, on this specific date, the scoreboard reads, China shipping, America teasing. That's the fact. Now here's the piece that most coverage completely misses, and it's the most important part of the whole story. The reason this isn't a fluke, the reason Xpeng can do what 60 years of Western companies couldn't, is not that they're smarter. It's that they have something no American flying car startup has ever had. A national government that decided this industry was going to happen and put the full weight of infrastructure, regulation, and capital behind it. China's 15th five-year plan, starting in 2026, officially classified the low-altitude economy as a strategic emerging industrial cluster. That is government language for, we are building this, we are regulating it fast, and we are putting national money into the infrastructure. Shenzhen is building 1,200 takeoff and landing pads. Other cities are following. The airspace rules are already being written, not debated, written. When a Chinese company wants to fly a drone over a city, they are not waiting for a committee to finish its report in 2031. They have a framework, they have infrastructure, and they have a government that decide the sky is the next economy. Compare that to the American process. Joby has been working with the FAA for years. Serious, patient, good faith work. And the FAA, not because it's incompetent, but because American regulatory culture is cautious and litigation averse, moves at a pace that makes a glacier look impulsive. By the time America has a regulatory framework for personal flying vehicles in urban airspace, China will have 10,000 of them in the sky. That's the gap. Not engineering, not money, speed of execution from idea to infrastructure to product in your customer's hands. So what does all of this actually mean for you? The flying car, in the form it ships in 2026, is not going to change your commute next year. It's a premium product for early adopters in a country whose government has built the landing pads. The ground range is impressive. The flight range is a taste. The price is a luxury purchase. But here's what it means 10 years from now. And this is the part your generation has earned the right to care about because you lived through the battery story, the solar story, the drone story, and you know how this goes. The company that ships first builds the manufacturing base. The company that builds the manufacturing base drives the cost down. When Xpeng is making 10,000 flying vehicles a year, the next version gets cheaper. Then the version after that gets cheaper again. By the time America's regulators have finished arguing about vertiport zoning, China will have gone through 3 generations of this product, and the price will have dropped by 60%. We have watched this exact curve happen with solar panels, with lithium batteries, with consumer drones. DJI owns that entire industry, while America was still filing patents. The technology gets proven in one place, the cost collapses, and then it's everywhere and it's too late to catch up. The flying car promise has been made and broken for 60 years because nobody had the combination of engineering, manufacturing scale, government alignment, and market testing infrastructure to actually close the loop. Xpeng, in 2026, in China, just closed it. Your generation was told you'd have this by the year 2000. The year 2000 came and went. Then 2010. Then 2020. You stopped believing it. I get that. The broken promise is in your bones after 6 decades. But I want you to actually look at this one. The factory, the floor space, the 10,000 units a year, the 7,000 orders, the 5,000 kilometers of test flights, the infrastructure being built right now in Shenzhen. This is not a popular mechanics cover. This is not a concept car in a glass box at a motor show. This is a van with a helicopter in its belly rolling off a production line at 1 unit every 30 minutes. The Jetsons was 62 years ago. George Jetson just got his car, and it has a Xpeng badge on it. Here's what I want from you in the comments. Honest answer, 1 sentence. Would you buy one if the price came down to the same as a loaded pickup truck? And do you think America ever catches up on this one? Or did we hand the sky away the same way we handed away the battery? Drop it below. I read every single one. This channel tracks exactly this. Real specs, real factories, real dates, called straight every week, while everyone else is still writing about last year's auto show. Subscribe, because this story is moving fast and the next chapter is already being built. 60 years of promises. China just delivered. I'll see you in the next one.